else. I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Welcome to another episode of the show where we interview the storytellers, the hustlers, and the outcasts of the world. This is another solo episode with yours truly. And I think we've done maybe 3 of these. This might be the 3rd one we've done. And usually I interview someone. But if I have something that I want to, I guess, maybe voice my opinion, or I want to speak my mind, or I feel like maybe it's necessary, it can give perspective to others, or it can help someone listening, then I'm going to do it. And it's not easy doing a solo episode for a lot of podcasters. A lot of podcasters are used to interviewing someone. So this is, you won't see a lot of podcasters do this. For me, the running joke with my friends, because I talk so much, I just tell them, I can talk because I'm comfortable talking to myself. I do it all the time, especially in my job as a trainer. The way I see these solo episodes is just a chance to reflect, speak my mind a little bit, and also gives me a little practice. I don't always have someone to interview. Sometimes I just want to be able to talk and see if I can channel my thoughts, and I can make a whole episode with just me. That's it. This episode is episode 17, and it's called Surviving the 2020 Pandemic. Man, where do I start? In this episode, I just wanted to talk about my time during this whole pandemic from March all the way through, we're in May right now. We're at the ending of May. And just kind of give you my thoughts, my feelings on it, my timeline as far as how I was in the beginning, how I handled it, all the way up into now, which has been roughly about over 2 months, actually, believe it or not. So I'll start from the beginning. Everything's a blur, so forgive me. A lot of this is a blur because it's been so long, and the days during quarantine, the days just, they seem like they go by slower, and you're not really sure what day it is. You lose track of days. So like this right here, I'm recording on a Saturday, and I actually thought today was Sunday. So I'm like 1 day off. And for the past 2 or 3 days, I've kind of been like that. I had to double check the calendar. So from the beginning in March, from what I can remember, is we started getting word on the news about coronavirus, COVID-19. And to be honest, I didn't know the difference between COVID-19 and coronavirus. I was wondering, what is the difference between the two? What do I call it? And it was only until maybe close to a month later that I did some research and kind of realized, the difference between it and the name for it. But in March, from what I remember is, I work as a trainer / exercise group instructor. So I'm always teaching classes from 15, 20, sometimes even more than 20 people in a class. And I'm always around one-on-one clients. I'm a hands-on type of person. I have to fix form. I have to fix technique. I have to spot, assist clients and students. So that's my job. And I think just so you can understand me and where I'm coming from, before this all happened, the kind of person I am is I'm very, I guess I'm a personable person. I can be sensitive. I can get hurt easily. My feelings can get hurt easily, depending on how someone treats me or how someone approaches me. So in that sense, it's in the beginning it was kind of tough for me. But I just remember we got the word on the news, and then I was still continuing with classes, and I would try to make light of it. Like I did take it serious, and I did encourage my students to wash their hands after every exercise. Not after every exercise, that'd be crazy. After during the breaks that we had in class, and just making sure they wash their hands regularly. I would announce that, but also I would try to bring light to it as much as I can. And I think my thoughts from the start was always to preach to everyone that just be careful, be safe, but don't drive yourself nuts. Focus on the things that you can control, and don't stress about every single little thing and all the things that you can't control. That was the theme in all of this. And a lot of my clients, my friends, have heard me say that thousands of times. So I would tell my clients that, and, I would crack jokes here and there in class just to kind of bring light of it, because back then in March, and this is like March 15th, give or take, somewhere around there, no one was wearing masks in class yet. People were aware of what was going on, but I guess they would wash their hands more. So we weren't aware of it. We were still doing our thing. We were still working out. And I guess as the days went on and the news came out, then I got word that, which I knew already was going to happen, that we were going to put classes on hold. The gym would close. And it was the first of many things that would happen and that would follow. So I expected it, and I said, okay, that's fine. Let's adjust. I told my students, I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know when I'm going to see you again, but I wish you guys the best, and let's just see what's going to happen. I was pretty naive, because at that time I was thinking that it was going to last for about 2 weeks. No joke, for about 2 weeks. And I told everyone, I'm pretty sure this will clear up in about 2 weeks. I give it about 2 weeks. And obviously it didn't clear up. It just got worse. Then I started seeing people wearing face masks at the grocery stores and different stores and just out and about. And it would slowly start multiplying. Mind you that I was probably one of the last. I'll be honest with you guys. I was probably one of the last to conform to it, because my personality is I'm not a conformist. If you know me and you follow me on social media, I do things differently. My thought process is different. I don't like to follow the crowd. I don't like to follow the norm. That's just kind of how I am. It's not anything ignorant. It's just my personality, and it's a lot of people's personalities. So, and I really thought it looked stupid. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't educated enough about it. I didn't know enough about it. So before you jump on me, and you jump on anyone that refused to wear a face mask, or they weren't all for it at first, just kind of understand where we're coming from. You have to understand from the beginning that fear makes people react differently. Fear makes people act in different ways that can come across as ignorant or like they don't care. But it's not that. It's just that anytime there's change, a lot of people are resistant to it. And I was one of those people. And it got to the point where I was going to the stores and I was kind of counting people. And I would see maybe one or two out of like 15 to 20 people that didn't have a face mask. And over time, there were more people with face masks than there were without face masks. I was one of the last. I did an Instagram story where I kind of spoke my mind a little bit, and I vented a little bit. Again, this is from everyone. We were all going through emotions. We were all expressing ourselves in different ways, and maybe it came out differently, or people were judging each other. But you know what? It's a freaking pandemic. Of course we're gonna act in different ways, and we might not agree with each other. I mean, have you guys seen those movies, those pandemic movies or those zombie movies where everybody's just acting, they're not acting rational, and there's always that one guy that goes nuts and he goes crazy and he loses it, and that's the guy usually first to die in the movie because the zombie, eats his head off. But that's kind of how it was. I didn't conform right away. So there was my first incident that I remembered is I was at the store, grocery store, and I saw one of my old clients, and we were kind of catching up, and it's a Hawaii thing. It's just kind of who I am. It's kind of what I do, and a lot of people do in Hawaii, is I went in to hug her, to greet her, and then she was like, and I was like, oh, okay, now it just got real. This is where it starts. And I don't know, I guess I was a little hurt because that's just the kind of person I am, but I understood why. But I was also a little frustrated. So I went on my Instagram stories, which is probably where you don't want to go after you just had an incident where you just got frustrated or you have to vent. That's not a place you want to go. And I said, you know what? I said in my stories, I can't help the way I am. All this whole thing going on is just irritates me. I don't know how not to hug someone. I don't know how not to greet someone. I don't know how not to shake someone's hand. And I said, if I see my mom or I see someone I love, I'm sorry. I'm just going to hug her. I'm just going to hug them. Like, I'm sorry. That's just who I am. And a lot of my friends, for the most part, they agreed. There was a few that didn't agree. And they took that as ignorant. They took that as, oh, you don't care. You're not taking this seriously. And one person even messaged me a whole long thing and told me, I'm very disappointed, and, you're like this, and can't believe you don't care about others. And to make a long story short, I was like, okay, this person's going to follow me. And then 5 minutes later, I checked, and then that person unfollowed me. So that was the beginning of this whole chaos. And I said, wow. So that's how it's going to be. This is the beginning of exactly when I watch those movies. Everyone goes crazy. Everyone turns on each other. And I said, okay, well, that sucked. So as time went on, I, of course, more news came out. And then I saw cases. It's not that I didn't believe it. Maybe a part of me, and like a lot of people, maybe we just didn't want to believe it. Maybe we didn't have enough information about it. And you had everyone having conspiracy theories, and people were saying, the flu is worse. The flu kills more people, and this is just the flu. And I didn't really believe that. I knew it was serious. I knew it was real. That's for sure. But I think as more information came out, I think the story that got me was when I heard about that bus driver. I think it was in Chicago or Boston. Don't quote me on it. But this bus driver, he was on the bus, and this lady on the bus, maybe she was a little nutty or whatever, but she was just coughing, and she coughed on him or directly at him. She didn't have a mask. She didn't even bother covering her face. And then he made a video after. You guys can look this up, bus driver. And he said, you guys really got to think about others. You guys really got to cover your mouth, or you got to put a face mask on or something. Because I take a risk every single day doing my job. I'm a bus driver. I deal with the public. And this lady just coughed on me. I don't know if I caught it. I don't know what happens, what's going to happen next. But you guys really are ignorant, and you guys should really think about others. My brother told me about that story. And I believe 2 weeks later, he caught the virus, and he died. And that was one of the stories, I think, that got me. That then I realized, okay, this is real. Yeah, this just got real. But yeah, it finally came to the point where, again, more information is coming out. Then you realize, okay, we have to take this serious. That's the process. That's how things go. People don't take things serious up until something happens. People start dying, or they experience their loved one or someone close to them that catches it or is affected by it. And I remember I was in one of the grocery stores, and it came to the point where they literally had to almost force me to wear a face mask. This girl came up to me and she was like, "Oh, we're giving out free face masks. You want one?" It was almost as if she was saying, "Look, put on the damn face mask. Here you go. It's free. You don't have to buy one. Here you go." And I said, "Okay, I'll take one." And from that point on, I wore a mask. And I took it serious. But, this was like maybe, I don't know, early April, I would say. I fought it for a long time. And then the law passed and they said, you have to wear it in the stores and everything. And I get it. And I never really, made a big deal about it or anything like that. I went along with it, and I still do to this day. And I don't really grumble about it. I know it sucks, but it's, number one, it's the law. Number two, all I think about is my family, and I think about my friends. I think about people who I come in contact with, my mom, my brothers. So I think about them. That's really why I do it. Probably my main reason for doing it is I don't want to catch something and then give it to them. So no problems wearing the mask. But yeah, this is early April. And so yeah, I started wearing the mask. And then they had that lockdown that happened where I think it was the state said we're going to go on a lockdown everything's such a blur. But I remember, the stay home order. I remember that happening. And one of the places that I go, well, first of all, there's two places I go to regularly. One is the park, because I train clients there and everything. Once I got taken away from me and we couldn't go in anymore, that was kind of, that stung a little bit. But then my second place that I go is my storage. That's where I have all my fitness equipment. I have everything I need. And when they told me that they were, due to the state's orders, the governor's orders, they were going to close the storage because it's not deemed as essential. I'll tell you right now that when that happened and I wouldn't have access to all the things that I normally have access to every single day, and mind you, I have a lot of equipment. I have a lot of stuff in my storage. A lot. And when they said that, that really hit me. And I started quickly kind of packing some stuff and packing whatever I needed and try to transport it to my car. That really hit. And I'll be honest with you, that moment, I actually almost kind of broke down and I started tearing up, because it just finally came to that point where things were being taken away and it was just so real, and I just didn't know what was next. And then luckily 10 minutes later, I guess they got word from the city and they said, you know what, we are essential. Storages are essential. The governor said it's okay. We're going to stay open, but we're just going to modify the hours. And then the modifying hours of every place, Walmart was a big one, because they modified their hours to like 8:30 p.m. and they're usually 24/7. And I love Walmart. And every time I gotta go to Walmart, I gotta buy something. Walmart is usually my go-to place. And when they modified the hours for that, and they started closing places, and they started, for some reason, I don't know yet, but they started closing restrooms. That's when it became very inconvenient. And I was like, okay, this really sucks. By then, all the masks, everybody was wearing masks. That was just a thing. But from the beginning, when I knew everything was shutting down and I couldn't do my classes and I couldn't see my clients, that's when I emailed my staff and I said, look, this is probably our time to shine. The way I saw it, I guess you see it as an entrepreneur or business owner's standpoint, and also that competitive side in me. With all the gyms closed, see, in fitness, the gyms are the big gyms, 24-Hour Fitness, UFC, Orange Theory, all those places. They dominate the field. And us little guys, us independent guys, us small local fitness companies, we suffer because a lot of people will go there because that's the in thing, that's popular. And I told my staff, I said, look, this is our time now. These big guys are closed. They can't do anything. Us, we have social media. We can create content. There's things that we can do. And I told my staff, okay, everyone's got their own project. This is when it's due. Let's pump out content as much as we can to service our followers, service our clients, and let's really show them what's up. Let's really show them what we can do, and let's bring out each and every one of your talents, and let's showcase it to everyone. This is our time to shine because, one, the big dogs, the rich, the $1 million gyms and all that, they're out. They're out of the equation for now. Great. No one's going to the gyms. Everyone's looking for at-home stuff. Number two, we have all eyes on us, which means that we have attention on us. In this day and age, with social media and everyone just scrolling at a fast pace and not really reading or taking the time to see stuff because they're occupied by work or school or they have kids. Now I knew the attention was on us. Everyone was kind of glued to their Instagram and Facebook. They were looking for at-home workouts. They were looking for content to entertain them because they were indoors. So I told my staff, this is our time to shine. Literally. We have to do something. We have to take advantage of it. So we did. And we created some of the best content that the company has ever created. And we pumped it out a lot. At-home workouts, funny stuff, inspirational stuff. It was a really great time and a growing, I guess, I'm not going to say growing pains, but it was a chance for us to grow as a company. And I'm really proud of what we've done and during that period, what we have accomplished. Really proud of my staff. So that happened, and we learned from it, and we got stronger. And that was the good part about this whole pandemic is people were forced to adapt, and people were forced to get better. They were forced to change the way they do things. But with every good thing comes the bad. And what I started seeing more of, like I always do, specifically on Facebook, is the ugly side of people. I started seeing the ugly side of my friends. That really got me. Because you don't know someone. This is how I really feel. You don't truly know someone, whether it's your friend or your other half, until you see them react to a stressful situation. You really don't know. And we were in this stressful situation. This is April. Probably we're in late April already. So you see people posting all this stuff and, they're swearing here, swearing there, and they're saying, it's Trump's fault, and it's Governor Ige, and just very negative posts. It was ugly. It came to the point where I almost didn't want to go on Facebook already. Because Instagram, it's easier to digest. But Facebook, for some reason, with the whole reposting and sharing very easily, being able to share very easily, it became too much. And I started seeing friends in different light. I lost about maybe 2 or 3 friends during this whole period because they were sensitive about maybe something I posted. I even had like a few of them try to debate with me and argue with me, and I'm like, no, I don't do that. I'm sorry. You just got to respect me for what I post, for my opinions. I'll respect you for yours. And it just became ugly. And I'm the kind of person where, look, I don't care who you vote for. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat. Like, you're my friend. I respect you. I love you. I care about you. But don't come down on me and tell me I should be believing in this and I'm wrong and whatever. Everyone has their own opinions. And that's what I hated the most about this whole pandemic. Probably more than the actual virus itself is the ugly that came out in people. The ugly that they showed. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't stand it. And there were times where I just didn't want to log on. So, you know, I stayed away from my mom for a while, for at least the first 3-4 weeks. It seemed like forever because I always see my mom at least once a week. And when we finally, had a kind of a family get together, that was the first time I saw my mom. And then we were still doing the 6 feet thing. But it's hard to do. It's just because your natural instinct is just to like, bump somebody naturally, or just like my nephew is like playing with me, he's hitting me, he's punching me. Like it was hard to do, but we did it. But my main concern through this whole thing was my mom. She was more susceptible to catching it at her age. She's like mid-70s. So I just cared about her and I tried my best to stay away from her. We still kept in contact though every week. Probably like 3 or 4 times a week. And, that was nice. And she said, how are you doing? And I would say, Mom, I'm doing the same as I was the last time you checked on me. I wish I had better news, but I don't. But I would check on her too. And, we would stay in contact. I was in contact with my family and my friends. I check up on my friends. And it became the new normal. And I was numb to it like everyone was. And I followed the rules and I put on the mask and I washed my hands. Man, I washed my hands a lot. I've never washed my hands so much. Before, like a lot of you, I know you won't admit it, but I used to just wash my hands for like 10 seconds, maybe 8 seconds, and then I would just rinse. But ever since the start, I've washed my hands like 20, probably 25, maybe 30 seconds. And I thoroughly wash everything and I sanitize everything. And I don't do it as much, but there was a point where like I was literally sanitizing everything. I was wiping my handles of my car and every little thing I touch. And, it just, again, it became the new norm. And I think if we're looking at ending of April, beginning of May, it became numb. It just became a habit. It became a part of life. And putting your mask on, wiping everything down, sanitizing, that's just the way it was. I'd sanitize my phone, my wallet, the credit cards I use in my wallet, my car keys, like my everything. So I did pretty good on that. Work, when it came to work, I did take a couple clients. I still try to keep my distance, and because I still got to bring in the money. I got lucky. I got the stimulus late, but what I did get before the stimulus was there were 2 kinds of loans for business. I believe one was the Paycheck Protection, whatever, and then the other one, it was the economic. Anyway, I don't even know the words, but I did the first one. I got the first one, surprisingly. I got 1,000. When I saw 1,000 in my account, I said, whoa, what the heck? And then the stimulus took forever to come in. I think it came in probably like May 5th or May 6th, probably like the ending of the first week, something like that. And when that came in, I was like, oh, thank God. But I'm the kind of person where I don't celebrate right away. I'm very realistic, and I knew that as fast as I got this money, or as much as I got it, I knew it could go even faster. So to save my money and to budget, I ate a lot of bad food. I'm not gonna lie. I'm in survival mode. I know how this goes. I'm not naive. I don't know. I didn't know how long this was gonna last. It could have lasted till July, August, September, October. I didn't know. No one knew. So I was eating a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I would mix it up with peanut butter and banana sandwiches and just rice and something with it, beans. And I did this for weeks. And it got to the point where I said, I gotta mix in some other stuff. I cannot do this. My stomach was feeling it. And so I budgeted that way. I grew up I didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot. We didn't grow up rich. And so we knew how to survive. And I had no problem with it. But the unemployment, that's a whole nother ball game. And I filed for unemployment in early April or mid-April. And as of now, to this day, May 30th, I have not gotten anything. And a lot of people haven't gotten anything. And it's so frustrating because you try to email, no one answers. No one emails you back. I'm on like the 6th or 7th email, I think, somewhere around there. You try calling, and literally, like, I joined a forum on Facebook. There were people saying that they would show like screenshots of how much they called, and some people called like in the hundreds. I think one person reached 1,000 something times redialing the same number and never getting through to anyone. And if you did get through, they would tell you, okay, well, we could take down your name and number, and not every volunteer could help you. They would have to refer you to someone that could help you. I think they just got volunteers mainly to get all the incoming calls and to get people's names and to get people on a list. So when I finally got on, they told me that in 2 weeks, someone would call you within 2 weeks, and no one ever called me. And still to this day, no one has called me. So that's still a work in progress. But we're at the ending of May. As I record this, it's May 30th. And as I wind down, let me just kind of give you my thoughts and what I've learned through this whole process. I appreciate work more than ever. I appreciate having a job and just having a job and having a paycheck. You know, you take that for granted, but I really appreciate that. I appreciate work. Appreciate having hours every week, hours every day. I appreciate restrooms. Well, I appreciate stores, you know, places that I would take for granted just going because they were open 24/7. I appreciate the workers, the essential workers, and every worker that comes into contact with people. And a lot of them who sacrifice during this whole pandemic and continue to work. I appreciate them. I appreciate my family, our get-togethers, and not be able to see my mom on a regular basis every week. I really appreciate that. My friends, going out, being able to go out and seeing them or having lunch and eating out. And I think freedom in general and health, I appreciate. You know, as things go on, as the laws start passing and the city starts buckling down and making, you know, enforcing rules, you lose your freedom. And that really hits you after a while. Because, in America, we're so used to being free. But when they tell you you can't go out and you can't go here because it's closed, I think that's really a big thing. But health, first of all, I've been working out every single day, sometimes twice a day. And appreciating your health, because, those with the underlying medical conditions, that's really scary. Because a lot of them were catching the virus. So you were more susceptible if you were a senior citizen, past a certain age, and if you had underlying conditions. The scary part is a lot of people don't know that they had underlying conditions. So when they got hit with the virus, they realized that they did, and their health wasn't as good as they thought it was. So health, I really appreciated. Every single day, the highlight of my day was the end of the day where I would go for a run, or I would go for a bike ride or a walk, and I really enjoyed that. That's what kept me sane through this whole process. I'm not gonna lie. That was the highlight of my day, every single day. What did I do during the day? Pretty much work on my phone, edit videos, social media as most people, but I always had something to do. I never got bored. Because I took this time as a chance to grow and evolve and better my company and find all the spots that we needed improvement in, but also for myself, things that I needed improvement in too. So that's what I took this time as. It was a blessing. It really was a blessing in disguise, and a chance to work on myself, because with my job, I'm always training clients. I'm always taking care of others. So this was a time where I could focus on me, both physically and mentally. So I really took advantage of that time, and I exercise like hell. But health was very important, and that definitely was a wake-up call for a lot of people. So that if this should ever happen again, you're healthy and you're less likely to catch it. But what I learned most is in times of stress and chaos, that's where you truly see people's real side. That's when you really see what people are made of. Again, like a zombie movie, like any movie where someone goes nuts and they lose it and they end up getting eaten by the zombies first. During tough times, you get to really see how people are. You get to really see their real side. Can they handle pressure? Can they handle stress? How do they handle it? Do they get ugly? Do they get negative? And then you see the other side of people, and you see people that are giving, they're helping, they're being positive as much as they can, and they're encouraging others to be positive. And this whole pandemic brought out both kinds of people. And very disappointing what I've seen from some of my friends. But on the other hand, when I see people pulling it together and helping each other out, and this whole thing brought people together, regardless of the negative that you see out there, it brought people together. In Italy, they were singing on their balconies with each other. There was a trainer that would lead a whole building outside. He was on top of a rooftop, and everybody was doing exercises following him from their balcony. This really brought everyone together, and I think it almost needed to happen. Much like 9/11, much like a lot of things in history, we need times like this to happen once in a while, so that we can not only come together, but we can truly appreciate what we have. You never appreciate what you have until it's gone. And a lot of us learn that. We learn that fast. So I'm going to tell you this, ending off this episode. I'm going to be a better person from this. I know a lot of you are. And I want you to remember this. I want you to remember this moment in history. 2020 will go down as historical. People will never forget 2020. I want you to remember it. I want you to remember the ugly. I want you to remember the good. And I want you to remember how the ugly felt. How you saw the worst in people. I want you to remember that. Because I don't want you to be like that the next time we have a pandemic or we have something that's going to just tear apart the world, something bad happens. I want you to remember everything that you learn. Play it cool, be positive, love others, help others. And my biggest takeaway, like I always say, and I said it from the beginning, is focus on the things that you can control instead of focusing on the things you can't. And try your best. You cannot possibly do better than your best. Your best is your best. There's nothing better than that. And there's no sense in focusing on the negative. There's no sense in focusing on stressful things that you cannot control. It's out of your control. You're not the president. You're not the governor. I'm sorry. You can't control certain things. But you can check up on your family. You can control that. You can check up on your friends. You can help others in need. If someone's feeling down or they're taking this really bad, you can give them a call, shoot them a text. There's things that we have so much control over, but for some reason, a lot of us just focus on the things that we can't help. We have no control over it. It makes no sense. It's a waste of time, and mostly it's a waste of energy. I hope you learned a lot during this tough time. And I was going to name this episode, I Survived the Pandemic. But I didn't want to be too optimistic. Because as good as it is now, today's May 30th, things could still change. So we always have to, that's probably the biggest takeaway, is don't get too comfortable. Regardless of it's a pandemic or anything in life. Don't get too comfortable. Always still keep your guard on, because anything could happen. Things could change really fast. And that's why the name of this episode is Surviving the 2020 Pandemic. Surviving. Because it's not survived. We're still surviving it. We're still going through it. It's a new world. It's a new way of living. It's a new norm. And we're still surviving, and we're taking it a day at a time. And that's how it's going to go. And that's what's going to happen. And we just got to get through it together. That's all we can do. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you were able to maybe have a different perspective after listening to me, or just looking back at it and learning from it and seeing the good and the bad. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been another solo episode of the show podcast. I want to thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on episode 18 coming up, which I should be talking to someone else other than myself. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thanks for listening to the show podcast. You know the drill. You know what I always say, where we interview the storytellers, the hustlers, and the outcasts of the world. Thank you for listening. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you on the next episode.